Welcome to today's webinar on the business of help, strategic content for the post-sales journey. This is Sheba and I'll be your co-host for tonight. Now I am delighted to introduce our speaker, Sharon Burton, content strategist at AMD and a part-time instructor in the engineering department at the University of California, Riverside. With a background in cultural anthropology, she has dedicated her career to make content creation easier for businesses and users alike. Sharon has taught over 8,000 students in corporate and academic settings and is the co-author of Engineering Words XML Press and editor of the upcoming Women in Technical Communication, from typewriters to touch screens. And today, she'll be sharing her perspective on how effective post-sales content strategy can redefine customer experience, retention, and trust in technology-driven businesses. If you have any questions during the webinar, feel free to drop them in the Q&A box and we'll make sure to address them towards the end of the session. With that, I'll hand it over to Sharon. The stage is yours.
Good morning, all. I'm based in inland Southern California, and so the sun is just coming up for me. You're in other places, I'm sure, and the sun is doing other things. But good morning from me, good day, or good evening, depending on where you are. All right, so to give you an overview of what we're doing today. I'm going to introduce myself again because I wasn't sure. Then we're going to cover some terms that I think will be of value for you and are part of my overall discussion. Then we're going to talk about measuring the impact of technical content, because regardless of how we're delivering it, we need to be able to measure it. Then we're going to talk about steps to measure effectiveness of content. Then we're going to take some questions. All right, so as Sheba said, I'm Sharon Burton. Hi. I'm part-time adjunct lecturer at the University of California, Riverside in the engineering department. I teach up-and-coming engineering students a required class in most of the engineering programs at UC Riverside. And I co-teach it, and the class is called Technical Communication for Engineers. It's a very interesting class to teach. Even though I'm based in Riverside, my co-teacher and I teach it remotely. We teach it online, and we teach it 4 quarters a year, and it is a ton of fun. Right now, we've got about 150 students, which is about average for us, and it's all juniors and seniors. We don't get our hands on them until then. I'm also working a long-term contract at AMD. It may be that we turn it into salaried. Who knows? You know how contracts can go. I'm the co-author of Engineering Words, which I have to, oh, no, I don't have it handy. Oh, wait, I do. Engineering Words just came out with the 2nd edition, woot woot. October 1st, that got released. And then I'm editor of a book called Women in Technical Communication, From Typewriters to Touch Screens. We are doing the last of the pre-press work, and it should be out early 2026. I keep hoping it'll be out tomorrow. Not, it'll be out sometime in January or February. We don't have a release date set yet, and I want you to keep an eye out for it. It turns out it's the first living history of women in technology. It is not, I did not set out to do the first living history of women in technology. I just wanted to do an interesting project. 70 Writers International submitted pieces, so it is women telling their story about what they did in technical communication from India and Finland and Mexico and Ireland and so many other places. It is I did not set out to do a brilliant project, but as we've gone through the process, I have to tell you, it is a brilliant project. So keep an eye out for that. That's going to be pretty exciting. All right, so let's cover some terms, because I want to make sure that we're all on the same page and we all understand some business terms, some of which have come from product management. As you probably know, product management is the role that kind of oversees the entire project, the entire product as it moves through development and then goes into production, and then customers use the product. Product management lives and dies on some metrics. Things, and some of those metrics are the concepts and terms from those metrics, the things that I'm going to talk about today. So, and you may know some of these, you may not, but we've all got the same vocabulary. So adoption. Adoption is customers buy our product or use a feature. And you'll hear people talk about, even though the customer has bought the product, you'll hear what is the adoption rate for a feature. This is an important concept for us. Stickiness. Stickiness is how much our users stay in our product or stay using our feature. So how people who are engaged with our product or a feature renew our product or buy more of our product. And remember, in today's world with software as a service, that those of us building products, we need to prove our value month after month after month to our customers. And one of the ways that product management measures that proving our value is through stickiness. How much are customers back in the product day after day using it to solve their problems? Product management lives or dies by renewals, right? Like how many customers buy the product again at the end of the contract, they go forward with it. And one of the things product management watches for is a fall off in stickiness. What does that mean? That means customers who are not in the product as often as they were are often a warning sign that that customer is not going to be renewing the product. So product management is very interested in and watches stickiness. Related to stickiness is retention. If our product solves a problem in a manageable way to our customers will renew or buy more. We will retain those customers next time. So stickiness is watching them actually in the product month over month, and then retention is they go ahead and renew. Both of these things are really important to a company, and that makes sense to you if you think about it, because stickiness leads to retention. Retention equals dollars, and dollars equals we all have a job next year. So these are not new concepts for you, but these are the key words that the rest of your team is going to use. And then there's some content strategy concept words, terms that I want you to think about. Information touch points. Information touch points are places in the product or on the customer journey with the product where customers need content to use the product. And I want to pause there for a minute. Information touch points are not just, oh, they click a help button, or, oh, as the customer is learning about the product, they go and look at knowledge base articles, or they look at a data sheet or whatever. These can be right in the product. The customer gets to a dashboard, for example, in your product and goes, I wonder if I can see X. I want to look at X. And they're in the product. Very few customers go, you know what I want to do? I want to stop what I'm doing, open a browser window, go to a knowledge base, search the knowledge base, click a couple of articles, and hope that I find what I'm looking for. That's not what I mean by an information touch point. An information touch point, well, that is an information touch point, but that's a poor experience. What a customer wants is to say, I wonder if I can see X. And something in the UI, some sort of content in the UI, leads them on a path to quickly and easily get the information they're looking for so they can find what they are looking for. They can see what they're looking for in the product. More on that in a few minutes. And then there's the content ecosystem. The content ecosystem is all the content that our users need, all the content that is available to our customers to use the product. This includes online help, knowledge bases, in-app content, those little wizards that pop up and you say, the customer can say, I would like to learn how to organize my dashboard. UI text is also part of the content ecosystem. And these things we forget about because we're busy creating the knowledge base articles or the PDFs or the web help or whatever it is. But all the way down to the UI text is part of the content ecosystem our customers are experiencing. Our customers don't think about, oh, just the online help, just the knowledge base articles, just the PDFs. That's the only thing I'm using to use the product. Our customers view the entire ecosystem as moving them forward in using the product. All right, and then a really, really important concept is cognitive load. The cognitive load is all the stuff that's going on in our customer's head as they come to use our product. And this stuff can be everything from, gosh, I'm hungry, I need to eat lunch soon. My kid is not feeling well. My parents have a doctor appointment this evening and I want to follow up to see how they're doing. I need to get these 10 things done today and I'm kind of in a hurry. All of that stuff, all the things that we all have in our head as part of just people who live in the world. Just people who live in the world. And then, so they've got all that stuff going on in their head, and then they come to use our product. We don't have any control over the cognitive load that our customer brings to using our product. We have no control over that. We all just live our lives and we have things going on, and we as people who build products have no control over what customers bring to our product. But we do have a lot of control over what we add to their cognitive load as they start using our product. And our job is to not add additional load as they start to use our product. Now, we don't necessarily, because users are diverse, a brand new user to our product, we may add additional cognitive load. There's no way around that. But our job is to add as little to their cognitive load as possible. A more experienced user, we're probably not going to add a lot of cognitive load so long as we do our due diligence to follow modern technical writing practices. But our job is to add the least amount of cognitive load as possible. And clear, usable post-sales content, because I'm all about the post-sales end of this. The pre-sales, the marketing end, that's interesting, but not where my gifts lie. My gifts lie in that post-sales ecosystem. Clear, usable post-sales content ecosystem delivered at that point of need, that information need, will reduce the cognitive load. That's our goal. Regardless of what part of developing content we're in, that's our goal. All right, so now that we've got some terms figured out and we understand some ways to talk to other people involved in our product development, let's think about things that get measured, get noticed. Your product management, your product development team, your engineers, your marketing, all of these people are working on key performance indicators, KPIs. And most of the TechCom groups that I've worked with, we also have KPIs. And it can feel at times frustrating because you're given KPIs that are based on other groups' KPIs. If you have room to negotiate KPIs, you should be creating content relevant KPIs, like content usage, customer satisfaction, those kinds of things. things that come out of what we do as a group. If you have some say over it, tie your KPIs to your product management KPIs. Because remember, they're measuring how customers are using product and how customers are buying more of the product or using a feature. If you think about it, that's a natural relationship for TechCom to become buddies with. It's a natural place for us to be buddies with. So here are some ideas for some KPIs for us. Content usage. How did our customers find our content? So if you are delivering in a knowledge base, and I saw based on the poll that some of us are in fact delivering in a knowledge base, right? We're doing knowledge base stuff. Knowledge bases have built-in usage metrics. They all do. I'm most familiar with Zendesk, and I'm fairly familiar with another kind of knowledge base called Fluid Topics. They absolutely have metrics. And by metrics, I mean, sure, what content is getting seen, but also in these systems, you can look to see what are customers doing? How are they moving through the system? What keywords are they searching for? How many articles did they look at? PDFs are a little harder to do. Actually, PDFs are a lot harder to do. This is going to drive you crazy if you're delivering PDFs. If you're using an in-app, creating those guides in-app, those completely have metrics, and you can go look at that to see what are people doing with those guides. Are they looking at them? How far into those are they clicking? Those kinds of things. These kinds of metrics are the kinds of things that you should be living and dying by. Like, you should be watching these carefully. If you're delivering an online help system, you can embed into that help system Google Analytics. Google Analytics is brilliant at showing you time on page, other things about how customers are using them. You can, in Google Analytics, actually see where people typically flow through your help system. And this is important information. Now, you may be thinking, well, I'm a TechCom person. My job is to write product instructions. Why do I have to also learn about this? Well, because this is part of proving our value, and proving our value all the way up, all the way up. And how do we prove our value? We show that our content ecosystem has value to our customers. Our customers are engaged in it, right? Remember I said retention? Customers who keep coming back because they found our content to be useful. This is a good thing. We want our customers to be doing that. And then, how do our customers feel about what they found? And I have to tell you, this can be the part that hurts. It can be, ow, ow, because we put a lot of effort as TechCom professionals. We put a lot of time and effort into creating our content. We occasionally ship something that we think, gosh, if I'd had just another 2 weeks, I could have made that really good. But we hit our deadline because deadlines are the important part. But the value of our content is determined by our customers. And this is a really hard thing to learn. But our customers are at the end of the day, they're the ones who tell us if we did a good job or not. And that's tough. When you're new in field, you think, no, I get to say if I did a good job. I wrote really good stuff. I created really good content, and I hit the deadline. I did a good job, and you did. Well done. Like, I'm not dismissing that. Well done. But ultimately, our customers are the ones who determine if we did a good job. I want to tell you a quick story. Some years ago, I was at a conference, and it doesn't matter where I was, but I was at a conference. And at the end of the conference, my friend and I decided to add an extra day because the location of the conference was a beautiful place to be. So we added an extra day to stay and do stuff. mostly lay on a beach because I'm all about lying on wonderful beaches. And so at the end of that day, we realized, oh, when we go home, because it's a beautiful place to be, we need to bring gifts back for our family. You've all done that sort of thing. You've been somewhere and you go, oh, I need to bring the children back something. And she had little children. My kid was grown up, moved away, but she had littles. And so we walked around and we walked to this outdoor mall. And in the United States, outdoor malls often have these little standalone kiosk things where they sell things. And this mall had one of those. And so we stopped at this mall and we were looking at the things that they had, thinking about her children. And then she leaned over to me and whispered, Sharon, he's got one of your cash registers. Because I had written the user manuals for a line of cash registers at one point, pretty recently at that time. And I went, oh my gosh. And I looked over and sure enough, he had one of my cash registers. Now he sees two women who are standing there looking at his stuff and now we're very focused on his cash register, which we realized could be a little bit weird. Right? That could be a little bit unsettling. So I said to the man who was running the booth, I said, no, we're not being weird. I wrote the user guide for your cash register. And he went, oh my gosh. And he pulls open a drawer under the cash register and pulls out the user guide, the printed user guide. And it's got coffee stains on it, and it's dog-eared, and it's got Post-it notes in it. And he says, this is amazing. Every time I need to figure something out, I can find the instructions right in here. And I went, that's the best thing ever. And I said, except for setting the tax rate. And he went, oh, that's a mess. I said, I know. The product manager and we did the best we could, but it's just really hard to set that. And we chatted about the user guide. And then we bought a few things. And then we walked back to the hotel. And I cried all the way back to the hotel. Because, whether you know it or not, we spend our careers trying to help that one person. There's one person out there who's going to read what we wrote and go, oh, well done then. I know exactly what to do. And I met my guy. Now I've won awards for what I have done. I've done a lot in our field, and I'm very proud of the work I've done in my field. And I have to tell you, that guy is my proudest professional moment. I met the person that I wrote that entire manual for, and it made a difference for him. So that's what I mean when I say our users are the ones who determine if we did a good job. And in the case of that user guide, I did a good job, and I'm very proud of that. So here's some way we need to think about, what do our customers, how do they feel about what they found, about the information that they found that we created. Now, depending on how you're delivering, in a knowledge base, you can set up a rate this topic at the bottom of your article. Or depending on the knowledge base, some knowledge bases have a little star thing that in the UI that the customer can click. Online help, you can write a little JavaScript that lives at the bottom of your topic and lets the customer rate this topic and then make any comments. And by the way, creating that JavaScript, you may think, Sharon, I don't write JavaScript. Yeah, me neither. But AI does, and that's an absolutely brilliant use of generative AI. Absolutely brilliant. You can write the prompt and it'll create that JavaScript and you can just put it in the help. Yay, right? PDFs, there is a way to do it. You can put a little comment at the bottom of every page in your PDF that the customer can click on. It's not trivial to do it, but it can be done. Asking them to rate that topic. It's not trivial, but it absolutely can be done. I'll bet generative AI can get you 95% of the way there if needed. If you are doing in-app stuff, you can actually, in the in-app tool like Pendo or a couple of others, you can ask customers to rate the information that you've just given them. You want to do this. You really want to do this, if at all possible, because that's a way for customers to give you feedback about the content that you're delivering to your customers. Now, it's not just enough to add that. You need to create a governance team. Now, it's very easy, it's very tempting to create a governance team of only the content developers, only the TechCom folks. And that's certainly a great place to start. But if possible, consider bringing in a development manager or a product manager, somebody outside your group, because you want visibility from other groups into the customer satisfaction of what you're doing. Why? Because if you're getting back only negative comments from your customers, as much as that hurts, and it does, having a group outside of your group involved will let you start to say, you know how we've been saying we need more time, more staff, more whatever it is we need? Yeah, our customers are telling us that too. So how do we get an additional contractor, additional headcount, another 2 weeks, which we've been saying we need, or whatever it is that you need to be able to make the content more relevant, better, etc. You've got some visibility into doing that. Make sure that you include a field in whatever form you're doing so that customers can give you their email. Don't make it required, but a lot of people will give you their email if you put a form there, you know, a little field for that. And that's going to help you because now you can follow up with those people. You can actually reach out to those people and go, hey, I'd like to learn more. You said that you gave a neutral to this topic. Could I meet with you? And we could talk that through. We could talk about what else you would have liked to have had in the information. This is huge and potentially life-changing to discover from your customers what it is they want so that your content can be better. All right, and let me go to my next slide. Oh, wait, did I skip? Nope, I didn't. Good. All right, so now that you've started to get some feedback from your customers, hopefully, you've got some metrics. You can measure how much your content is being used. Now it's time to experiment. This is my favorite part, I have to tell you the truth. So now you can generate a hypothesis about your content. If we reorganize our content, we can expect to see time on page, which is one of the metrics you can get. Time on page is engagement. How long did somebody take to read this content? That's engagement. Engagement is a big deal. If we reorganize our content, we expect to see time on page to increase for these 10 pages that we're going to make it easier to find. Our hypothesis is we think these 10 pages would be very useful to our customers, but they're not getting the traffic based on our analytics that we want them to get. So we're going to reorganize to make those 10 topics more visible in our knowledge base, our help system, whatever it is. And once those 10 topics have become more visible, we expect to see actual numbers, number of people on those pages increase, and time on page increase. Right? That's a great hypothesis. Or maybe the rest of the company is using Pendo. We're going to start using Pendo too. We're going to put some wizards. We're going to put an in-app wizard where product marketing or product management has told us customers seem to struggle. We're going to put an in-app wizard in to introduce people to that feature. And we expect to see more people use that feature, adopt that feature. This is something product management cares about a lot. And good content can make that difference. That's your hypothesis. If we do this thing, whatever this thing is, improve the UI. by adding product relevant instructional content to the UI, people are going to use the dashboard more. We're going to increase stickiness. This is why I started with the terms, because product management not only cares deeply about this, these are metrics they report up to their management. And we solve these problems with content. So we generate these hypotheses. We make these changes, we test, and we see what happens. When you generate your hypothesis, make sure that you've got 3 months of metrics before you make the change, and then 3 months after, and see if you made a difference. I'm not going to tell you every experiment is going to make a difference. Some experiments you're going to go, wow, that actually got worse. We didn't expect that to get worse, but it got worse. Okay, our hypothesis was wrong. Let's think about why it was wrong and see if we can rethink that to get an increase in what we expected to, or we thought we should. Not every experiment is going to be successful, but often when you really look at the data, you can learn a lot from an experiment that didn't go the way you thought to discover your hypothesis was wrong. You can learn a lot. Validating your hypothesis isn't always the win you think it is. Sometimes invalidating your hypothesis will actually give you more insight into how your customers are using your product, what information they need at the information point of need, and how you change your content ecosystem to meet that need. I actually love it when my hypotheses go wrong. I mean, I'll be honest, there's a moment where I go, ooh, ow, I really thought that was the right hypothesis. But when you dig into the data, you can start to learn some really interesting things and figure out a better way to meet the information needs of your customer. All right, and then I started with KPIs. Make some noise. Keeping all this information inside the TechCom group only serves the TechCom group. Now, that's not a terrible thing, right? Because that's the group you care about, because that's your group. But that only serves your TechCom group. You need to be reporting upstream. So what do I mean by that? Consider folding your KPIs or metrics into a monthly reporting that you report not only to your boss, but you encourage your boss to report it up to their boss or to their boss's boss. Get those numbers reported up as high as you possibly can. It's not going to happen overnight, but make that one of your internal KPIs, that our reporting is going to be seen up to the director level or the VP level. Because that's the group that needs to see the impact of what the TechCom group is doing. They need to know we're impacting customer adoption or product adoption. We are impacting customer experience. We're impacting stickiness. We are impacting all of that. And here are the numbers that show that. So however it is that you need to do, get the word out on what you're doing and how it's measuring. I was at a company, had a salary job for a while, and one of the things that I did is I reported once a month. There was a meeting where all of the teams got together and kind of reported what they were doing. I made sure that the TechCom group got into that report. I had one slide that showed month over month, things that increased, all of that. I got us in that. It was a 3 or 4 minute presentation once a month. But that 3 or 4 minutes once a month kept everybody up to date on what the TechCom group was doing. So that was a really important one. Also, I've only mentioned that, actually, I've kind of hinted at it. Knowledge base. If your company has a knowledge base, especially if you're delivering content through that knowledge base, your customer support group is being impacted by better content, more relevant content in the knowledge base. Because obviously the more people who solve their problem on their own is fewer people reaching out to support. And better knowledge base articles overall help your support team when customers do call in. because the support team can go, yes, I hear that you want the instructions on how to manipulate that data, the dashboard, to show you green things. Let me send you the article in the knowledge base that does that. And boom, they send it. Customer says, yes, there's the instructions I was looking for. Thank you very much. The customer support person is done. Customer support gets measured by how quickly they close tickets. Good quality content on the knowledge base closes tickets.
Thank you, Sharon. The session was quite insightful, and I'm sure the audience will agree with me. And that's a wrap for today's session. A huge thanks to you, Sharon, for walking us through the topic today. I hope the insights shared today gave everyone a clearer understanding of how strategic post-sales content can strengthen customer relationships and drive long-term business value. And of course, if you have more questions or want to learn more about Document 360, then feel free to reach out. We'll be back soon with another session soon. Until then, see you next time.